Hi, welcome, welcome. I am so glad you've joined me today for our Facebook Live, YouTube Live, StreamYard Live, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. I am excited to be here. I can't believe Thanksgiving is already over and Christmas will be here before we know it. I am Kelly Pitts, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Lubbock, Texas, and I have been a demonstrator since 2005. So that makes it about 18 years. And I'm excited that you've joined me for a video today. I do not have a finished card. This one is still kind of moving around. You can tell I've got a fan blowing in here. But I hope several of you tune in so that when we make this card, you can share your input. We are using a card similar to one that I did at our Stampin' Up! Techniques class. I had a helper last week, thank you, Jan, when we did that techniques class. This is all the credit for the background. This whole idea for the way this is stamped is from Stampin' by Hannah, Hannah. She has a YouTube channel. I could not find her last name when I was looking earlier, but thank you for tuning in at a little bit different time. I was just too rushed this morning, and you can tell my hair is still sopping wet, so running a little behind. That's why I'm going to change my Saturday morning things, because I always seem to want to do things on Friday night for some reason, and it just puts me behind. So I'm glad you've joined and hope you will enjoy learning about this technique if you haven't tried it already. We're going to be stamping on tissue paper with Pool Party ink, and we crumple it up and glue it onto the background. So hopefully I have everything I need. We will see. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are going to be focusing on the Merriest Trees bundle, which is just awesome, and I believe it's carrying over to the new catalog, so that's wonderful. I'm excited about that because this is so flexible. This set will do so many things. You've seen me do a lot of cards with it, with all the dies that it cuts out the different size trees and the stars that I've used on multiple cards. I've used a lot of this. I still haven't used the tag, which is a perfect tag. So I'm still got some Christmas cards to make. So please let me know when you tune in who you are and where you're from. And we're going to get going on this card. Let's see. This one, like I said, this is just our prototype here that we're going to kind of look at. All right. We are going to start with the technique, which is using tissue paper. And this Stampin' by Hannah did not do the tissue paper. This is just something that I kind of incorporated into this one, but I loved her idea of doing this background. So we're going to take, if I can find my stuff here. Oh, yep, I put it up. And I've always had to reach across, so I'm trying it in a different spot. We're going to try believe it or not, this background on the tissue paper, which you could, of course, do on cardstock just as easily. We're going to do that with the detail stamp, I guess I call it, where it shows all the branches that comes from the Merriest Trees set. And we're going to take a tissue paper, and this is regular tissue paper. I have done a video where I used facial tissue, but on this one we're going to use just regular tissue paper. And there are a couple of people that have used tissue paper online. Some of them say to use the papery side instead of the waxy side if you have different ones, but I found on this particular tissue paper, which is just, I think it's out of a Paper Pumpkin box. I'm not sure, but I think that's where I got it. If not, I probably got it like at Dollar Tree or something, just in sheets. But when you have a larger stamp like this, I find that it's easier to turn the ink pad over to the stamp. Take the pad to the stamp rather than doing it the other way. And I'm going to stamp more than I need just because I don't know exactly how much I'm going to need. So we're stamping the tree. And then we're going to flip it over. And like I said, I saw this, the way to make this kind of striped background. I saw Stampin' by Hannah do it, and I just thought it was brilliant. and had to try it. So we did it. Jan and I used this technique at we co-hosted the techniques last week, and it was lots of fun. So this doesn't have to be exact. It's kind of a whimsical, just kind of sketchy feel. But you see how the stripes are made. Isn't that fun? So you just keep turning your tree and lining it up so that it makes kind of a continuous stripe. And I'm going to go ahead and do even that little part there just to make sure. I think it's going to probably be off the page. And then we're going to do 2 rows of that. You just have to kind of guess on the next row. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to start now. We're going to go down. And I'm just going to skip over. See about that much, how much room you have between the stripes. I'm going to skip down about that much here. I think I'm going to start with the tree halfway off and see how we like that. Because it doesn't have to be exact. You just want your row to line up. And obviously, if it goes off the page, it's fine. You're just using grid paper or scrap paper, whatever you're using below it. And this card, I'm using Pool Party. The last one we did at our techniques class, we used Lost Lagoon, and we did it on colored tissue paper, and I will show you that. I decided I wanted to try it a little bit lighter, so we went with Pool Party. We're doing the ombre look on the tree. So we have, whoops, I forget to switch this over. Sorry, I get so excited about showing y'all how to make the card. I forget to switch me over. Make the card bigger. There we go. Okay. I think we're down to 1 more stamp. Isn't that pretty? A fun way to make a background, right? If you haven't done this before, I know I've made my own DSP before, but I haven't made a pattern like this using a totally different stamp than you would think it would come from, right? Who would think of that? Good job, Hannah. Stampin' by Hannah, who came up with the stripe idea. And then I saw several demonstrators use tissue. We've used that for years. I've been a demonstrator, like I said, since 2005. And using tissue paper is not new, but it is fun, and I forget to try it. And it works perfectly with this little ombre look. Okay, now we've got our tissue. We're going to, and it dries almost immediately with a light color like this. If you do Evening Evergreen or Lost Lagoon, one of those, then you may want to let it dry a little bit longer before you crumple it up. But in fact, we'll go ahead and get our glue ready. Hello, Facebook user. Good to see you. I'm glad you like this technique. You can go to StreamYard and give them information, give them permission to share your name if you're interested. Name and likeness. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, let's get our glue mats. And if you're going to do this, I would recommend doing 2 silicone mats so that you can have one just with the glue on it. And I have taken some smart demo online suggested keeping it in a jar. I think I'll still have to wash this eventually, but I wanted to see how it worked. And just take your liquid glue and pour it out, or this is the way I'm going to suggest. Anyway, you can do it any way you want. Okay. I did not bring my trimmer in here. I was going to cut this a little bit smaller, but I guess we'll leave it at 4. Okay. Yeah, we'll just leave it. Okay. So I'm going to crumple my paper, and you just crumple it up. Isn't that crazy? Crumple it up. Make a lots of wrinkles. You like the wrinkles here. Other places, not so much, right? Okay, then I'm just going to do it a different way. Wad it up again. Good heavens, I should have put lotion on my hands, but a little late now to worry about my nails and hands. We just have to get on there. That's the fun, crafty part. It's what I'm concerned about. Glad you're here watching. Y'all are going to get to give some input later. But what I was saying on the waxy side versus the paper, I found that it smeared a little bit less. It was a little bit crisper image when you stamp on the waxier side. But that's just mine. You'll just have to try it yourself. And I would say about that much, like maybe a quarter-ish should do ya from your favorite liquid glue. And we're just going to dip our little sponge. And Stampin' Up! Used to sell these sponges, but of course you don't have to have this kind. You can do whatever you want. I cut one of the sponges, I think, into 6 parts maybe. And you're just going to coat this completely. See if I can keep that from blowing away here. So I've got one glue mat that's just for my glue. And then I've got one that is for my paper. And you can take your bone folder, sorry for reaching off over the camera there. Take your bone folder to kind of hold your paper down because it does try to get away from you. And you want to coat the whole thing. Everywhere, everywhere. Okay. Now, particularly the edges. Make sure all the edges, you go over all those. And then we're going to take our crumpled up tissue paper, figure out which side you like the best. Okay, we're going to want our lines going this way. So hopefully I've cut this paper long enough. I should have stamped it the other way. And then we're just going to pat it on here. We want to keep those wrinkles in there. Okay. So see how I'm not smoothing, I'm just patting it. Hopefully you can see all that. I'll move this. See if we can move that out of the way so y'all can get a little bit better view. How's that? Yep. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I think we're good to go. Make sure the edges are all good. Now you can go ahead and mash the little crinkles down because you have the creases in there. And then we're going to take the same sponge, and you want to be careful. We'll bring this back in. Be careful to only get the sponge onto the paper itself. Okay, if you start hitting right here, it'll kind of dry and stick to the sponge and make a mess, and it can tear that tissue. It is pretty delicate. So just try to get this all the way up to the edge, but yet just on the edges of the paper and not on the tissue. We're going to fold the tissue over. Alrighty, and some people cut it off evenly with the paper, but I think if you didn't quite get it glued enough, it's going to try to separate or come off and not give you the look you want. So I think it's safer to fold it over. Okay, and I should have cut it first. If you're doing this, I would recommend cutting it first. You should cut it down a little bit where you have about a 1/2 inch or so on each side. Like I said, I didn't pay attention on air there. I should have cut that a little closer. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. And then we're going to, I don't know if it's still called mitering the corners or what it is, but if you'll cut the corners off, not your paper, but your tissue, and then we're just going to fold that over onto the glue. Just right at the edge. And if I had cut those corners a little better to start with, my glue wouldn't have dried quite as much, but it's still going to work just fine. Yay! There we go. Look, what a unique background. Isn't that fun? Love that. Okay, now y'all are going to get to give me some input here. Got my scissors right in the glue, of course. Okay, so we're going to put our little glue deal sponge with the binder clip, put it aside, and put this glue aside. It would be really good to, I don't have any extra wipies in here. Wet wipes, I've got one. I guess we'll just let that dry and peel it off later. Okay, but I would recommend if you're at home and doing this procedure, I would clean that glue off. I would just go wash it off in the sink. Okay, we're going to decide. I've got this tree put together just so I can show y'all, but I kind of like this on the Lost Lagoon. We've got that little edge. I'll just show you the tree, and then we're going to use a deckled circle. And I'm going to get your input and see if y'all like the solid or if you like the ombre, and we're going to stamp another one. I'm going to move it over to left a little. But do we want to mount this to the Lost Lagoon like that? Y'all tell me, Lost Lagoon or Pool Party? Do y'all like the little bit softer look of the Pool Party? Or do you like the Lost Lagoon where there's a little more contrast? Anybody have input really quickly while we get going? I make a decision and we move forward. Y'all just let me know. And I'll show you how we put this cute little tree together. You always want to burnish your cardstock really well with your foam folder. Preferably get it straight first. Got a little glue there. I can get that off later. And I usually burnish it on both sides. Okay. Janice says Lost Lagoon. You're first, Janice. We're going with what you say. Because I agree with you. I think I like the Lost Lagoon. So we're going to get our little glue mat out again. And just use your liquid glue. If you wanted to, I wouldn't use the sponge again on this part. You could use it in the middle. But if you start doing it on this tissue part, you can tear it. Because it is delicate. Okie dokie. We're getting all that right there, and you should have an even border all the way around it. The cardstock, the Lost Lagoon, is, let me show you, open it up. We've got 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. So this piece of basic white is 4 by 5 1/4. And then your tissue needs to be at least 1/2 inch bigger all the way around. And pay attention to which way you want your stripes to be when you stamp them. Thanks, Janice, for your input. I appreciate you watching. I'm glad you're here. Okay, we've got that down. And you could do that up on dimensionals, but I think doing it with gluing it down, since it has that wraparound back, is going to be better. Okie dokie. We've got all our parts and pieces, hopefully, right here for our tree. I'll show you how to put these together. And this is the dies that you looked at earlier, of course. And pay attention to which way you want your tree. They're not symmetrical, okay, when you do the dies. So you've got this little part right here that's notched. Can y'all see that? See, it has like a double little bump there. So that's how you know how to line them up. And we want to line them up on top of each other like that. So we don't want 5 layers deep with dimensionals, because it'll just be too tall. So we're going to put a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals at the bottom. And then we're going to take glue dots. Whoops. we'll take glue dots for the top. And if you'll just always take your embellishment to the dot if you can, and kind of twist it, and it should come off on there. Can y'all see that? Right there at the top. Okay. So we're going to mount this evenly. Just kind of line it up both sides after you've made sure your notch matches up there. Okay, now we'll take this is Pretty Peacock, this is Lost Lagoon, and this is Pool Party. So we're looking for our double notch there, so we know that goes that way. So we'll put dimensionals at the bottom. Make sure they're not showing from the front, of course. My chair is at the place exactly where it wants to roll. Whoops, I forgot my glue dot. We'll get that on top first. So we have all our layers stuck together. And as I said, this one is Pool Party. And I'm just lining it up on all the sides first before I press down hard on here. See how that's making that dimension there of those layers? Isn't that cool? I love that. Okay, now we're going with the top layer, which is snow-capped. So I don't think it has to be raised. You can look and see if there's a difference. Yes, there's a difference even on the top. So you just kind of have to flip it over and make sure you've got it the right way. And then this could be, the whole thing could just be flat. Or if you want to pretend that that's a whole layer on itself that's snowy, that's great. We'll get our little glue dot on it. And if we decide this is too tall with that dimensional, we can take it off. Okay, and like I said, before you press down really hard, might want to do that. Okay, we've got that ready. We're going to pop up the bottom too. I'm not going to take the backs off right now. Whoops. In fact, we don't want that one. Right there, we want it on the side because we're going to stick our little silver tree skirt below it. Got our little background here. Let's kind of audition our pieces and see where we want it. We have to leave room for our skirt and our star. And I'm thinking this kind of star. We could do this kind of star. You've got both in that Merriest trees. But I think that one kind of gets lost. So I'm saying the big star. And y'all can tell me if you like the double star on top of this one, or you like it just by itself. I'm kind of thinking it's kind of modern looking-y this way. And then we're probably going to want to go ahead and put a dimensional on we're gluing it with a glue dot to the top of the tree, pressing that down really well. And then we may want just like a mini glue dot, or I think we're going to try a mini just right at this very end here. Okay, I'm not taking those off yet. See if I got those far enough apart for the skirt. I think that's a little too much skirt. We're going to move that all the way over so we have plenty of room for the skirt in between. See if that will go. Yeah, I think that's still going to work. Can we get it in there? Yay! Yes, we can. Okay, so I'm going to get that where I want it. About like that. We're just going to glue that flat. You can do that with a glue dot or your liquid glue, whatever you want. You just don't want to let that glue go. I probably should have done glue dot because you don't want that glue on the foil. Liquid glue, but I think this is going to be fine. Right here. There we go. We've got that ready. Now we can go ahead and pop that up. Right there. And we'll decide if we want ribbon on here, how we're going to do that. Okay. Should the skirt be popped up over that? Well, since I glued it, I think I would recommend putting the dimensionals under the tree and putting this flat onto the cardstock. Maybe. You might try it both ways. Okay, here's your choice on the star. Do we like it like this? Woo, careful. I didn't think I took the backs off, but I did off of that one. Let's put it back till we decide about this, because that tissue tears easily. Okay, we've got the backings on those. If you add any more dimension, make sure and add it not right directly underneath those layers. Because right now, that's still going to be one layer of dimensionals because you don't have two stacked on top of each other. Okay, let's see. Do we like this star on top of that? Do y'all like the two-tone look? Or do you like it just with it plain? My fan keeps blowing it off. Y'all like that? Let me hold it up. See if we can do that without the fan. Do you like the two-tone star? Like this? Or do you like just the star, solid star by itself? Y'all let me know, and I will get that done. Okay, we're not going to mount anything till y'all decide the ribbon. We'll go ahead and get our inside ready and stamped and stamp on our deckled circle. And we're going to, I'll show y'all, well, you could tell me that too if you want. If you like the ombre kind of look, where we're using markers and we're going from Pool Party to Lost Lagoon to Pretty Peacock. Y'all like that look? Or do you like a solid, just like the Lost Lagoon stamped on there? Like that, one color. What do y'all think? Let me know about the double star or single star and ombre stamping or single stamping. Okay, we'll get our little pad out and work on the inside. I think on the inside we can let's see, I keep looking on that side. I switched over to right here. I think y'all want me to decide, evidently. On the inside, we're just going to go with a single color. We're going to go with the Lost Lagoon. And I have not used this one, have not stamped with it. So I'm going to stamp with it, use some pressure, stamp off. That did pretty well for our first one. Usually, a lot of times on a stamp that comes off the assembly line, it may have a little oily residue or something. So you always want to stamp with it and then clean it real quickly and then then stamp onto your project. And this is the old pad. It's still good. When Lost Lagoon was an in color to start with. And it went out of the line and now it's back. So I'm excited that it's back. We're going to do we want that in the middle? Do we want it on the side? I think we're going to do it right there. This would be the kind of card to do if you don't want to have to write a lot inside. You just want to sign the name of whoever you're sending it to and your name. Isn't that pretty? Okay, then on the side, we're going to show you how to bring the front to the inside. Let me clean this stamp real quickly with our little Stampin' Chamois. Okay, we're going to take our tree again and use our Pool Party. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do one. Let's get this where y'all can see this really well. Let's see. Maybe if I move it this way. There we go. And y'all say something in the comments if you have something to share. All right, we're going to just press, tap, tap, tap onto our pad. And we're going to make a stripe. I'm going to go all the way up and off so we don't have that weird edge. And then tap, tap, tap. Can y'all see that I'm just inking up just that bottom row only? And then we're going to overlap this right here to kind of get the same look. And I went totally off the top. I did, instead of showing that point down here where it is by itself, I kind of made it go off the edge so that it's just straight across. And here it is overlapping a bit, but that's what it is. Now, how pretty is that? Except for that little spot where I got. All right, clean that off. If you clean your stamps as you go, you're going to be a lot better off at the end. It'll be a lot easier to clean them, put them in your case, put them up, instead of letting them stack up. Ask me how I know. Okay, now we've done that one. We're going to, let's go ahead and do the ombre. And then if we don't like it, we will go back to a solid one. Okay. So on the front, we're going to say, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And these are from the Peace and Joy stamp set. That is, or Joy to You, sorry. Huh. I think I forgot to put this in the supply list that's on there, but sorry about that. Was rushing to get everything done this morning. As always, because you think you'll do it Friday night. No, I was working on Christmas cards up until right before we went over to some friends' home for some wonderful cornbread and pozole. Thank you, Kathy. It was delicious. Okay, and when you're using markers, the Stampin' Write markers will do just great on the red rubber stamps. They don't do as well on the photopolymer. I don't recommend them on that. But if you're wanting this ombre look, you'll just take your markers and use the brush tip and use it kind of sideways like this. And that was Lost Lagoon. So it started with Pool Party, went to Lost Lagoon. Now we're going to Pretty Peacock. And this is a very bold, very thick font, especially this one at the bottom. So I'm trying to get it covered, kind of going both ways, across and up and down, so that hopefully I get a pretty solid image. But since the other is kind of wispy, I think we'll be okay on this either way. And I wanted to do this a little bit up and a little bit more left, so we have room for that tree. Okay, so I'm going to huff on it to moisten it. And then here we go. Straight down and give it some pressure, especially when you've done the markers. The markers are never going to get quite as dark as the ink pad itself. So you do have to let it sit there a little bit and soak in. There you go. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. Not a huge amount of definition between the Lost Lagoon and the Pretty Peacock there. And you can see it's not totally solid there where the S's are. You could try to go in just a little bit. If you use the brush tip, it shows a little more where you're filling in. But so I'm trying to just dot a little bit of this on. Maybe it'll look kind of like shading. We'll see. Probably could have tried the blends on top. Now we've got a little bit missing on the Pool Party. This is an old marker, so not sure how much we'll squeeze out of it. Kind of have a flat bottom O. But it's the thought that counts, right? It's a handmade card. Nobody expects perfection. Right? We shouldn't expect it of ourselves, just like we don't expect it of others. Hope y'all have had a wonderful Thanksgiving season and are looking forward to Christmas. Hope you have wonderful friends and family to share that with. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. Okay. Next, we're going to see how we like this on our card. We've got the ombre look, which you could do this in, if you wanted to go pinks and purples, you could do that. If you want to, whatever y'all are, whatever color combination you want to try. I just based it off of some of the cardstocks that I thought would look pretty in an ombre. We don't really have a ton of purples. You know, you could mix pinks and purples and do that in those, or maybe the blues, some of the blues, but I really like this kind of blue-greeny color for it, for the tree. So I think this is going to be about right. Now we need to decide, do we like the pool party ribbon? Kind of brought a couple of choices in. We've got pool party. If we wanted to put ribbon around that top part and let it'll show on the inside, which is fine. We could overlap it like that. We're done with our stamping. We can move that too. We can do it like that. We could just do the ribbon, pool party ribbon, in a little bow over here. We could do the silver, which I have just, we could do silver all the way across. And I'm happy to have your input here if anybody wants to share. See, we could do the silver all the way across below the behind the tree, and we are going to put some rhinestones on there. Excuse me, have to have a little sip of water. Maybe we should put our rhinestones first, and that will help y'all decide about the ribbon. How about that? Let me get these are just our regular old rhinestone basic jewels. Pretty sure these are still in. We'll get my Take Your Pick tool. And, okay, we're going to say silver ribbon or silver bow or pool party. And we'll just do, let's see, I think we're going to do one up here. I think I'll do 5. We may want to do more. Okay, so there's kind of our look. I think with that much silver, we may want the silver ribbon. What do y'all think? What do you like, the silver ribbon or the pool party? I originally thought pool party, but now I'm thinking that's too overwhelming and bulky. And we'll just do the silver. Do we want just the silver ribbon? Or do we like it kind of going across behind? I think I like it going across. We may be so behind that I'm just not getting your input yet. So I'm just going to proceed. Thank y'all for tuning in. Whether you're watching live or watching on the replay, I would love to have your comments about the card. And I'm going to Guess I'm going to glue that flat. Do I want that flat or do I want it up and the tree up? I think I want it up. I'm just not going to put, excuse me for that. Sorry. Let's get those all out of the way so y'all don't have to look at mess. Okay. Now we're going to dimensional this up. The tree's coming across here, so I probably want my dimensionals more up and on this side so that it doesn't overlap the dimensionals on the tree. Okay, we're going to get that straight. And I'm just barely going to set it there. I don't think I'll be able to get it off. Uh-oh. If I do, tell you what we're going to have to do is I don't know if I brought my whole long piece in here. We may have to make a different decision here. I think I'm going to see if I can wrap this around because I didn't bring my roller ribbon. This is the trim that comes in the annual catalog. Oh, is it annual catalog? It's either annual catalog or online exclusives. I think it might be online exclusives. And I think on this, we may just, I bet I didn't bring my ribbon scissors either. Yikes. Because I thought I had already cut it to size. Okay, let's just cut this at an angle. We'll just do that right there. Okay. And then do this at about that same angle over here. Okay. Now the bow is going to be there, so we know we can put a little bit of a glue dot behind here. We're going to roll it up on the roll. I'm just going to make like a little bitty dot, rolled up dot. And I'm just going to put that kind of where I think we might want that ribbon there at that end. Is that the right one? I guess it is. No. Okay. What happened to the ribbon I cut? Right here. Alrighty. About right there. Then I'm going to put another glue dot over here. Hope y'all are enjoying this card. Have any of you tried this technique before? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know if you've tried the tissue paper or if you've tried this striped technique or something like it with using a stamp for something it's not exactly intended for, but can be very flexible and work for something else like we did today. Would love to know if y'all are really creative with your cards, if you'd like to do out of the box, or if you're more of a simple stamper and prefer simpler cards. We're going to stick this on the back of that, and I'm rolling it up just so the glue dot itself doesn't show on either side. And you cannot pull this up again after you put it on that tissue. I'm just warning you. Okay, so we're going to assume that's as straight as we're going to get it, and that's it. Okay, now I'm going to take our little bow that I already had tied, and we can see what we think of this, if that's overkill or what. But I'm kind of thinking I'm going to like it over there. like that. But let's go ahead and put our tree on. And I think I'll put just glue dots right here because I don't want that elevated anymore. I'm going to go ahead and elevate the skirt. Make sure that's all down. Okay, all the backings are off. We should be good. Because you're not pulling it back up. So audition your piece, figure out where you want it. And I want it where it covers, it follows that curve and none of the white little deckled circle shows through until you get towards the top. Don't want to interfere where Christmas is. You want to have your star on. I think we're going with that right there. Fun. How about that? Isn't that cute? Do we want the bow? Do we not want the bow? I wish I had it a little bit lower. And I think we can kind of move it there. You can't move it on the tissue, but you can move it here. You think the bow needs to be a little bit smaller maybe? Let's try a teeny tiny bow. See how we like that. And we are about to go to the affordable art sale downtown Lubbock today. There's always so much going on in Lubbock. I love living in Lubbock. Hope y'all are just as happy with the town you live in as I am. Well, I don't think I liked it kind of like it was. A little bit bigger. Tiny bit bigger. Thanks y'all again for your input, and I really appreciate you sharing my videos with crafty friends who might also enjoy it. Okay, we're going to cut, and glue that on with the glue dot. And we will be good to go as soon as we put our inside in. I think I'm going to put it on here. Shiny side up. This ribbon kind of has two sides. One is white with two silver lines. I don't know if y'all can see that. See the difference there? And this is solid silver all the way through. So whichever way you do it, you're going to have a mix on the front, which is fine. That way, that way. We don't want it interfering with Christmas, but I think people are going to know what we're spelling, even if we cover up a little bit of it, right? Okay, glue dot. Taking the ribbon to the dot, and I'm kind of rolling that under so that it won't show where I have the glue. And we're just going to put that right there. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. Pretty, don't y'all think? Do you like it? Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please share with your crafty friends, and hope y'all have a fun week of Christmas crafting and Christmas card making. We'll glue this in and we will be finished. Y'all like this color scheme with the Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock, Pool Party? I love it. It's one of my faves. And it's kind of nice. We've been doing such bright cards that it's nice to have a subtle one, don't you think? All right, let me show you. Here's the one that I did previously. This is the one we did for our techniques class, where we did the stripes in Lost Lagoon on a colored tissue background, and then that's on the heavier, darker Pretty Peacock. All right, I'll get all this stuff out of the way. Thank y'all again for tuning in. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great week. Fun times ahead. Bye-bye.